Regarding his publication of his enemies list, Mr. Patel proclaimed, "The manhunt starts tomorrow," and reposted a video depicting him taking a chainsaw to his political enemies. Is that you, Kash Patel, reposting that at the top of that page?
Senator, I had nothing to do with the creation of that meme.
Is that you reposting it, was my question.
And that's me at the top.
You said FBI.
You just watched a clip, a small glimpse, of the chaos that could define America's future if we're not careful. What Senator Sheldon Whitehouse did in that hearing wasn't just a political moment. It was a flashing red warning light. I'm going to walk you through exactly what just happened, why this nomination matters, and what it means for the rule of law in this country. But before we get into it, hit like, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe. Every click helps get this story in front of more people who need to understand what's at stake. Now, let's get right into it.
Chairman, welcome, Mr. Patel. I remember January 6th. Colleagues running through our halls to flee the mob, colleagues shouting that rioters should be shot, us returning to our constitutional business through hallways cleared for us by automatic weapons carrying SWAT teams. None of you, none of us, said those violent rioters should be pardoned. A Republican colleague said such pardons would be hard to believe, even absurd. Your former colleague, J.D. Vance, said the violent rioters should not be pardoned. Even Jim Jordan said pardons would, and I quote, focus on all the people who didn't commit any violence. Well, Trump pardoned all of them. And there's a lesson in that. Every time you think Trump would never go that far, rethink that. We all seem to agree that violence against police is unacceptable, yet more than 600 people who physically attacked Capitol Police officers were just put back on the street, part of a 1,500-person personal Trump army, now out there with people who have proven themselves willing to do violence on Trump's call. In only 10 days, some are already back committing crimes. We've also tried as a committee together to address the dangers of illicit drug sales over the internet, and I assume we're all against murder for hire. But Trump also just pardoned a dark web operator sentenced to life in prison for trafficking illegal drugs online and accused of soliciting murders for hire. Those pardons, as Mr. Patel has said, are a mistake, but they are also a signal that we are entering a strange and dangerous time. That is the context for today's hearing. Warnings that the FBI could become Trump's enforcer, use the powers of law enforcement to stifle speech and dissent, punish political rivals of either party, and hand out free passes, get out of jail free cards to violent supporters are warnings we should heed. Here are some warnings of this nominee's Trump administration colleagues. Former Attorney General Bill Barr said, this nominee has virtually no experience that would qualify him to serve at the highest level of the world's preeminent law enforcement agency, end quote, and we would never be able to command the respect necessary to run the day-to-day operations of the Bureau. That's for the deputy position. Former CIA Director Gina Haspel was reported threatening to resign rather than have this nominee serve under her. John Bolton, Trump's former national security advisor, said, I didn't think he was qualified. I was forced to hire him. Trump's deputy national security advisor, the nominee's former supervisor, said, his ideas are ludicrous. He's absolutely unqualified for this job. He's untrustworthy. And it's an absolute disgrace to even consider an individual of this nature. That's from Republican appointees who worked with him. And here's what this nominee himself has said. about using his office to prosecute journalists. We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. We're going to come after you, whether it's criminally or civilly. Is that a correct quotation, Mr. Patel?
Senator, that's a partial quotation.
But it's correct.
In part.
Regarding his publication of his enemies list, Mr. Patel proclaimed, "The manhunt starts tomorrow," and reposted a video depicting him taking a chainsaw to his political enemies. Is that you, Kash Patel, reposting that at the top of that page?
Senator, I had nothing to do with the creation of that meme.
Is that you reposting it, was my question.
And that's me at the top.
You said FBI agents were responsible for the violence on January 6th, and I quote you here, "beyond a reasonable doubt." Is that what you said?
That's completely incorrect, and I appreciate the opportunity to address that.
I'll give you an opportunity in writing, but this is my time now.
Have at it.
An Inspector Attorney General investigation found that that was false. And you said we should impeach judges who rule against Donald Trump, who are, in your words, political terrorists. When this nominee tries to explain all this away, keep one thing in mind. He's testified under oath before a Colorado judge who presided over a Trump case in which he was a witness. And the judge found, and I'm quoting here, he was not a credible witness. His testimony is not only illogical, but completely devoid of any evidence in the record. That's from a judge. This is a dangerous time, and I ask all my colleagues to consider whether these plain comments by this person and by his own Trump administration colleagues should be given a blind eye, just overlooked, or whether, like the warnings of pardoning violent January 6 offenders, they're warnings to be heeded. There is an unfathomable difference between a seeming facade being constructed around this nominee here today and what he has actually done and said in real life when left to his own devices. Conduct shows character. And if you look at history, you see the danger of security chiefs in authoritarian regimes becoming the tools of political power. The characteristics that they often show are that they are vengeful, that they are grandiose, that they are intemperate, that they are partisan and blindly loyal, and that they are servile and won't say no. I'm afraid that the history of this nominee's conduct raises those warnings.
Senator Whitehouse opened by reminding everyone of something that too many politicians would rather we forget. January 6, 2021. Members of Congress fleeing a violent mob. SWAT teams lining the halls. A direct attack on democracy itself. And what did Donald Trump do in the years since? He pardoned hundreds of those same violent rioters. More than 600 people who assaulted police officers are now back on the streets. That's not justice. It's political loyalty rewarded with forgiveness. And now, the man Trump wants to elevate to a top FBI position, Kash Patel, has a record that reads like a warning label. This is someone who reposted a video of himself taking a chainsaw to images of his political enemies. Someone who's used language like, the manhunt starts tomorrow. Someone who's threatened to go after journalists criminally and civilly. This is not the behavior of a public servant. It's the behavior of a partisan enforcer. Whitehouse exposed all of it, Patel's own words, his reposts, and his history. And then he did something even more devastating. He read into the record what Trump's own officials have said about Patel. Former Attorney General Bill Barr, former CIA Director Gina Haspel, National Security Advisor John Bolton. Every one of them said the same thing. That Patel is unqualified, untrustworthy, dangerous. Let that sink in. Trump's inner circle, people who have defended him at every turn, still think this man shouldn't be anywhere near power. And yet, Trump wants him to help run the FBI. Whitehouse made it plain. This isn't about experience or competence. It's about loyalty. Blind, personal loyalty to Trump. And that's exactly what makes it so dangerous. The FBI isn't supposed to serve a man. It's supposed to serve the Constitution. It's supposed to protect the country, not a politician's ego. What happens when someone like Patel, who's shown open hostility toward the press, the courts, and his political opponents, sits at the top of that institution? We stop having an independent law enforcement agency. We start having a political weapon. Whitehouse also brought receipts. He pointed out that a Colorado judge once ruled that Patel's sworn testimony in a Trump-related case was not credible and devoid of any evidence. That's not the opinion of a partisan blogger. That's a judicial finding, a formal statement about Patel's honesty under oath. So, let's be clear. Trump wants to put a man the courts have called untrustworthy in charge of an agency that can investigate, surveil, and prosecute anyone in the country. That's not just bad judgment. That's authoritarianism creeping in through the back door. And this is where we as citizens have to pay attention. Because this isn't just about Trump or Kash Patel. It's about a Republican Party that's willing to excuse anything in the name of loyalty. The same senators who once said the January 6th rioters were criminals now shrug when those same rioters get pardoned. The same people who shouted about law and order now defend a man who openly threatens journalists. Whitehouse said it perfectly. Conduct shows character. And Patel's conduct, his rhetoric, his reposts, his contempt for dissent, tells us everything we need to know. History shows us how these stories end. In every authoritarian regime, from fascist Europe to modern-day Russia, the security chiefs are always the same. Vengeful, grandiose, intolerant of dissent, and blindly loyal to the leader. That's the pattern. And Patel fits it perfectly. The danger isn't that we wake up one day in a full-blown dictatorship. It's that we get there slowly, step by step, as institutions lose their independence, journalists are intimidated, and truth becomes whatever the powerful say it is. When the FBI stops being neutral, when it becomes the political arm of a single man, then democracy doesn't die with a bang. It dies quietly, under the weight of fear and silence. And it's not just theory. Whitehouse talked about how real this threat is. How when powerful officials talk about coming after reporters, whistleblowers, and watchdogs stop doing their jobs, the press gets quiet, transparency vanishes, and corruption festers in the dark. That's why oversight matters. That's why this hearing matters. And that's why you and I have to keep paying attention. If we want to protect democracy, it starts with demanding more from our leaders. We need inspector generals who are fearless. We need laws that protect whistleblowers. We need a Senate that refuses to rubber stamp political operatives pretending to be law enforcement professionals. But most importantly, we need voters who care. That means you. That means me. It means calling your senators, demanding transparency, and supporting organizations that defend press freedom and democratic accountability. Because if we don't push back now, this becomes the new normal. And the next time a president decides to weaponize the justice system against his critics, there won't be anyone left to stop him. So if you're watching this because you care about truth, integrity, and the future of our country, then don't just sit back. Engage. Like this video to push it higher in the algorithm. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think Congress should do about nominees like Patel. and subscribe because we're going to keep exposing the rot beneath the political spin. This is the fight that matters. It's not left versus right. It's democracy versus decay. Senator Whitehouse did his part. Now it's on us to do ours. We can't let the FBI or any part of government become a tool of partisan revenge. We can't let intimidation replace accountability. And we can't let people like Kash Patel define what justice means in America. Democracy doesn't protect itself. People do. So stay informed. Stay vocal. And let's make sure that power, no matter who holds it, never goes unchecked. Like, comment, and subscribe. And together, we'll keep fighting for truth, justice, and a government that answers to the people, not to one man's ambition.